Oh, hi, Jonah. Very nice to meet you here. So here I have a couple questions to ask you. So number one, which colleges were you admitted to, and why you picked Yale finally?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tracy. It's so nice to be here. When I was looking at colleges, for me, it was really about finding the right fit. And for me, I really loved Yale just because of the community. The people were really amazing. I felt like there was a lot of support in terms of Yale has sort of like cultural houses, like there's an Asian American cultural center, the African American house, La Casa for people who identify as Hispanic. And so there's a lot of cultural support, and there's a lot of really strong community building. I also was admitted to Harvard and Stanford. But for me, even though those schools may theoretically be ranked higher, I think it's really looking not at the rankings, but about where you can be the happiest and where you can really make the most of yourself. And I think that's something a lot of Asian American kids, maybe when they're in high school, they kind of get wrapped up in, like who US News or some other news organization says is one or two, or, like whatever. But at the end of the day, like a couple of numbers doesn't really matter because you can get a great academic experience anywhere. And it's really about finding the place that really makes you the happiest, I think, and really lets you maximize your own potential. And so I would just say, to anyone who's applying to college, who's in high school and looking at colleges, stay away from those lists. They're not any good for you. It's really about, you like doing research on the school you want to go to and making sure that like personally it's the right fit for you.
Awesome, awesome. So what are you studying right now as a major, and why did you prefer that subject?
Yeah, so right now I'm double majoring in political science with a focus on international relations and history with a focus on European history. Um, I'm really interested in Europe as a whole. That's something that was one of my interests in high school. I think culturally and politically, Europe is a very interesting place to study. And so I do a lot of work with European politics, specifically with the United Kingdom, and also looking at Northern Ireland and the continent as well. For me, I've always loved political science and history. I just think those are two of the most interesting topics. I was never really like a STEM kid. I didn't really enjoy math or like physics or any of those other subjects that much. For me, it was always about reading and writing. Those were the things I liked to do. And so when I got at Yale, Yale has some of the top history and political science departments in the country. And for me, if I had that breadth of experience in terms of tenured professors and some amazing classes to take, as well as in an area that I was really interested in, to me, it was a no-brainer to sort of study those two things.
Nice, cool. So a lot of people very curious. What is the life like at Yale, and what do you like best about Yale now? And yeah, so could you share with us?
Yeah. So I think my favorite thing about Yale, as I said before, is really the people. I think at any school that, really prioritizes academics, you obviously have people who work very hard, but I've never felt it to be competitive. It's a very collaborative environment. The work, like I have a really strong group of friends. There's and Yale really provides, I think, a lot of support for that community building. One of my favorite things I said before is we have the AACC, which is like the Asian American Cultural Center, and they host events with like Asian American food, and they celebrate, various Asian American holidays from across the Asian American diaspora. So you have like South Asian and Southeast Asian and East Asian holidays all celebrated, and that's really cool to me that Yale really puts money into sponsoring organizations like this. And I also just really like, I think, the way Yale sets up like their communities in terms of like our dormitories. So they group us into these separate residential colleges, and these are a little bit smaller, around 100 kids per year, per class year, and there's I think around 14 of them. But it really allows you to get to know those 100 students really well. And for me, in the transition from a smaller high school to college, that was a really important community for me to not feel overwhelmed, because when you went to a high school with 80 students, going to college with 1,600 students per class year can seem like a lot, and that was a really good way, I think, to ease myself into it. And so it's a little bit funny because I think everyone always asks about the classes or the professors when they think about what you make the most out of college. But honestly, every college student I know who I've talked to, like the things they remember are their friends and the community and the clubs and the people around them. And so That's really what I think like the most important part of college is. Like not saying that classes aren't important, like academics are obviously very important, but there's a lot more to college than that. And so that's really my favorite part about Yale.
Nice. Thank you. It's very impressive. Thank you. Thank you, Jonah. Thank you for
Thanks,
your
Zach.
presentation.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Tracy,
That's it.
Chen, are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You good with it, Tracy? Chen Chang? Chen Chang,